industry is linked to the timber industry. The timber industry is linked with agriculture or forestry. This creates local circular energy economies that can be scaled up to all levels, which in turn satisfy the energy demand in the form of electricity and heat, and electricity in terms of mobility too.
Wunsiedel in Bavaria and Lancaster in California. Both have tapped into their locally available resources as best they can. And both have created infrastructures in which green energy can be used as efficiently as possible in an ongoing cycle. Of course, such systems are ideally integrated into construction projects from the very start. Norway and its capital Oslo are among the pioneers in the green energy transition. Oslo is aiming to reduce CO2 emissions to near zero by 2030. Mayor Marianne Borgen helped to draft and pass a series of concrete measures.
We have all the way tried to tell our inhabitants that this is not about restrictions. So it's not about restrictions, it's about opportunities.
When we are building new kindergartens and schools, they are built with solar panel, and they also produce more energy than they need to use themselves. So we can put it over to other buildings nearby.
Oslo is considered the world capital of e-mobility. It's also made significant headway in making its construction sector carbon neutral, with advancements in heating and building materials.
We have said in Oslo that we want to be the first zero-emission city in the world by 2030, which is a very ambitious goal, but it is possible. I think that is so important, both to try to reduce the consumption, of course, but also reduce the waste, and also to reuse and also recycle. I think that these are all important elements in the total policy.
To achieve this ambitious goal, both residents and businesses must play an active part. Hege Skuyen Dilna spent several years of her career working at a large Scandinavian construction company in Oslo. The company has more than 8,000 employees and carries out projects worldwide. As a board member, she pushed the company to publicly commit to implementing the goals of the 2015 Paris Agreement on climate change. She also supported Mayor Borgen's measures.
I think the biggest moment in my career was when the whole management team in Veidekke decided that we would work towards the Paris Agreement. We didn't know exactly how we should do it, but we set a clear direction. And I think that was so crucial, to set the direction. And then some people said, well, why if we can't make it? And I said, well, I'm not so afraid about that. I'm afraid that we don't dare to set the direction.
With all her experience, Hege Skuyen Dilna sat for years on the board of the Norwegian Green Building Council, which is part of the World Green Building Council.
I think it will be very important how we build our cities the next 30 years. In 2022, we reached 8 billion people on Earth, and by 2050, there will be 10 billions. That means a city the size of Vienna will be built every week until 2050. That's a lot of aluminium and steel and glass and concrete and wood and plastic and bricks. So we have to go circular. We have to build with less for longer.
Sonja Høen manages a real estate company in Norway. When constructing new buildings, the company aims to reuse as many elements as possible from old office buildings that are being torn down. When building a modern office complex in Oslo, the company fused old with new. It was a pilot project, meaning success was not guaranteed. But almost immediately, startups and tenants started moving in, precisely because they were drawn to the sustainable concept. Hege Skuyen Dilna also had an office there for some time.
It's reused these reflector panels. And also the fence here used to be on the floor in the swimming pool in the technical room, and it's been used all the way up as a railing in the atrium. So those are some of the more interior aspects of reuse, where you also refer to as upcycling. So it goes from one thing to be upcycled to something else.
We've been working systematically on finding out how we can make buildings part of the solution. I mean, buildings accounts for around 40% of carbon emissions globally, 40% of energy use, so a huge part of the problem, meaning that we also have the opportunity to be a huge part of the solution.
In 2019, an office building commissioned by Sonja Hund's company was inaugurated in the Norwegian city of Trondheim. It was named Powerhouse. The roof is covered with solar panels angled optimally to capture the sun's rays in Northern Europe. As a result, the Powerhouse, with its 3,000 square meters of panels, produces an annual average of 500,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. That's more than double the amount it consumes itself. The surplus electricity is used on a local microgrid to supply neighboring buildings and electric buses and cars.
And this is a pioneer project. It's one of a kind. It's the first of its kind. So it's attractive for young people to sit and work here, and it feels good. Whatever we build new, we have focused mainly on three aspects. One is to use less resources and materials. So whatever you can reuse is excellent. If you can't reuse, maybe you can use recycled materials before you start sourcing new materials.
More and more of the construction sites that we have in Oslo are now zero-emission construction sites because the technology is in place.
We need to challenge the establishments, the industry, and also show the way.
Employers and employees in business are now largely, as a general trend, very much on board that cutting emissions is not only the right thing to do for the world's climate and the future of our kids, but it's actually also smart in the economy.
This circular energy economy relies as much on technological innovation from major industries as it does on a stable grid that can provide constant and reliable green power. In Northern Europe, that can best be achieved with wind power from offshore large substations where alternating current can be converted to direct current and back again. That's vital to transmit electricity over long distances.
To change, it was simply the idea that the physical potential of renewable energy is great enough to supply our planet and humanity, and that it's relatively easy to achieve. That's what convinced me and has gripped me ever since. So, to translate that into modern materials and technologies, we can convert the energy of sunlight into electrical energy. And that energy we can convert into green electricity. And then we can, for example, use electrolysis to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. And through this process, we have chemical energy carriers that we can use. And if we think big picture, we could be in the position to, for example, bind hydrogen to CO2 from the atmosphere and then generate synthetic fuels.
All around the world, more and more research is being conducted into green technologies. Singapore especially is considered a laboratory for the future.
A multi-facility undertaking, and it's also asynchronous. So it's, you could say, continuously operating around the world, 24/7, gathering the data that's needed, controlling experiments and equipment at other places. It's really a global challenge and a global solution. I would actually argue that the main challenge and the main potential solution lies in reinventing the way we invent new materials for the green transition. It's actually rethinking the way we do materials discovery, we do system development, and we need to reinvent the process itself and integrating all parts of the discovery, production, and end-use cycle to do so.
This is especially critical because the next innovation. Of course, not every single part of these new energy systems is ready for action, but rolling out innovation to communities and industry will be key.
If we go through the learning as silos, as we did in the past, we will get there, but we will not get there on time. And we all know what it cost us not to be there on time from a climate perspective.
The hope for a circular system is actually the thing that propels us. Prosperity must be made more sustainably. We didn't inherit this planet from our parents. We're borrowing it from our children.
Researchers have made tremendous strides in recent years. Technology has come a long way, but successfully transforming our energy supply to make it sustainable hinges on our ability to scale these solutions. They must be integrated into large sectors of society.